and decrease in available arable lands, food supply shortages will definitely threaten the survival of many on the planet. And that's already happening. Many, especially in the rural areas, many livelihoods are being threatened because of shortage of food supplies due to low productivity of the arable lands. Now, unable to practice the traditional shifting cultivation, farmers are now left with no choice than to continue cultivating on degraded lands. And this results in poor output. So this is why regenerative agriculture is the panacea that has come to the rescue. I move to the next slide. How does regenerative agriculture work? Regenerative agriculture uses technologies that regenerate and revitalize the soil and the environment. So, to do regenerative agriculture, we look for those practices, organic farming practices, such as cover crops, crop rotation, composting, mobile animal shelters, and pasture cropping as tools. So these are things we use when we are talking of regenerative agriculture, because by these practices, you are improving the soil organic matter content as well as biodiversity of the soil. Regenerative agriculture leads to healthy soil capable of producing high quality, nutrient dense food while simultaneously improving rather than degrading the land. So this is how regenerative agriculture works. And my final slide here is on the benefits. If this technology is adopted consciously and promoted among our farming communities, it will result in improvement in our crop yields. We'll have our degraded land restored because there will be increase in organic matter content of the soil. It will nurture biodiversity. There will be decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. It will also reverse climate change through increase in soil carbon stocks. So we know that soil is part of the carbon pools in our land. It will also create drought-resistant soil due to increase in water holding capacity. Because when the organic matter content of the soil is rich, it will lead to increase in water holding capacity of that soil. And finally, it will revitalize local economies, because with increase in yield from farm, the activities in our farming communities will increase. They will be able to generate more income and so on and so forth. So for regenerative agriculture, there is an international body that is promoting this type of agriculture, and this is their website is regenerationinternational.org. That's the website of an international organization that is in the forefront of promoting regeneration agriculture. So this is something that is needful in Africa, especially because most of our arable land presently has become degraded. So in order to reverse that trend, regenerative agriculture is the way to go. Thank you for listening.
No, that's my
Thank you, Bob. We are very delighted. We are very grateful for this short and concise presentation. I've admitted people into the meeting, and I want to implore everybody that is not a speaker to please mute your microphone. We quickly go to the second presentation before we enter discussion. Professor Lamy will make a short presentation, immediately to be followed by Dr. Adeolu. Please, we have your presentation for just 5 minutes so that we can have time to discuss. Thank you. Dr. Lamid, are you on now? Professor Lamid, sorry. Professor Lamid, can you share your screen? Okay, if you don't have Professor Lamid, can we have Dr. Adeolu?
Okay, yes, I'm here. Good evening, everybody, once again. I will just share my slides and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Oh, but I need you to enable me, or if you can just share.
Yeah, let me look for you. Doctor, what is, okay, yeah. I will make you host. Oh, I have to. Okay. To remove more, okay. Can you just go ahead while I fiddle with
this? Will it be after him that I will present?
Oh, okay. Mr. Professor Lamid is ready now.
Okay.
I don't know how to, I'm just fiddling with this system now. Okay. Maybe I have to remove myself from being host before.
You remove me from being co-host and add another person, sir.
Okay, I think Professor Bolagade has hosting rights now, so he can share his screen.
Yeah, well, thank you. I will speak audibly without sharing my screen. And most of what I want to say will just come from what I listed down here. But thank God that Professor Femi Akindele, my Oga, has already prepared a fine ground for this discussion. I will just go and build upon what he has said. I believe I'm loud and clear. People, yes. Hope you are hearing me.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Thank you. So I will, thank you. I will just continue by saying, what is this regenerative agricultural farming that we are talking about? By defining it more, as Professor Akindele said, as a practice that allows the growth of forests that have previously been cut down using the same species of native trees within the geographical area. And we will ensure that they are not different from actual species that are already there before. What are the practices? What is it based upon? It is based on reversing climate change, rebuilding soil organic matter, restoring degraded soil biodiversity, that can result into carbon drawdown and improving the water cycle in the system. Regenerative agriculture is sustainable for land management practices by focusing on ecological functions that can be effective in building resilient agroecosystem. This agricultural system has so much benefit, just as Professor Akindele said, and I reiterate by saying that it helps soil health. It improves no tillage that we call zero tillage, that reduce soil erosion, reduce water pollution, and planting of cover crops. we all know the importance of cover crop in the ecosystem. I can boldly say here that 78% of farmers that practices regenerative farming are more convenient and more profitable than those that are practicing conventional agricultural practice by reducing higher margin crops and reducing costly inputs in the system. Also aim to improve the well-being of the environment by increasing soil fertility, increase biodiversity, and cleanliness and soil carbon sequestration. And this is the area where wildlife comes in the in situ or ex situ competition. Help in gardening is a garden system. We call it homestead farming system in our home place here. And we make a lot of practicing help. It also reduces reducing tilling of land by practicing rotational cropping. Femi Akindele said, synthetic fertilizer, NPK, that eventually destroy. It also moves away from pesticide, from herbicide and factory farming system that we all know about. What are the components of this regenerative agriculture? Cropping, organic annual cropping, component and composite tea. Some of the plants or leaves turn it into leaves, and that is what they are practicing in the Republic of Benin. Most of the leaves we have around that animal eat, they are also useful to human beings if you package them into tea, and you see that there's nothing waste in the environment. Holistically, it can be managed in animal integration and ecological aquaculture practices. So it also includes, it's not only that we are doing earthen pond. We have various methods of doing native agricultural practices. I will not talk much of benefit, but because it has already been said, but reforestation and reafforestation must be well defined. It is planting of trees in an area which forests were destroyed. While reafforestation is planting of trees in the same place, but you have to improve upon it. Reforestation and reafforestation can be used interchangeably. The planted trees should generally be same species which were cut down from the initial place, and we are now introducing them or bringing them back into the same place during afforestation. We should plant many trees as much as possible, more than even the one that were cut down, with the hope that this will reforest or will regenerate itself again. Regenerative agriculture and sustainable food management is over a long period when they practice regenerative agriculture, and potential making agric more sustainable in long run, because you will discover that the costs that they are incurred in practicing will be reduced, making farming more appealing even to the younger generation that are coming over the next generation. And so we have something to hand over to the new generation that are coming. The regenerative agriculture is also, it's just revolving. We have what we call Tongia farming. I know Professor we know most of these things that we were taught in the undergraduate. And at the same time, we also include some cropping of maize, beans and some other things that can have regenerative agri that feed the world.
Okay.
And it has been of good benefit to the environment, like carbon sequestration. It is possible to sequence a significant air we take, and we now discover that it is of a great opportunity. I will round up here because I know my time. Difference between the sustainable and regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is organic plus.
Thank you, Professor Lamid.
Next iteration
Okay.
and sustainable agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please hang on so that they may have some questions for you. Dr. Adeolu Ojo, I will now make you a host. I will remove Dr. Lamid from being a host.
Okay, I will.
Okay. I don't know how to remove them from host now. I don't know. Okay, Dr. Adeolu, you have the floor. Can you make your presentation in 5 minutes? This is Sunday.
We are waiting.
Dr. Adeolu, can you go ahead? Yeah, I don't know how to remove myself from being host here now.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
you.
Okay,
yes. Okay. Yes. The professors who spoke ahead of me have given professorial dissertations. So I'm just going to speak as a learner, Omoshe. So, but I'll be looking from the perspective of climate change, and I would like to start by saying that you see, global temperatures are witnessing increased, gradual but sustained increase, and it is on record that the 4 hottest years in history have occurred over the last 5 years. So, I mean, this is something that should be of concern. Unfortunately, I'm not able to share my slides yet, so you can't see the chart, but I mean, they will be distributed as the need arises. So, but the perspective I want us to look from is...
You don't have permission to share your screen, but please maintain 5 minutes so that we can have time to discuss. You can share your screen now.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can. Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Like I was saying, from elementary biology, we know that animals, including man, take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. So as long as we have animals from this same biology that plants, green plants, take in carbon dioxide and then release oxygen. So during photosynthesis. So as you can see from this equation, we know that while animals, including man, are depleting the oxygen, plants are regenerating and reintroducing oxygen. So it means then that the more plants we have, the faster we can renew our oxygen supply and vice versa. So any activity that encourages survival and increased population of green plants will automatically engender an increase in oxygen level and better chances of survival for man and other.
We lost you, Mr. Dr. Adeolu. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yes. Now, ironically, many of the sources of carbon dioxide that we have also result in deforestation. For example, you are not going to be able to build a factory unless you clear land. You can't build roads unless you cut through a forest area. You can't generate or do gas flaring unless you have to clear forests, mangroves, or whatever. Depletion of forest resources. Now, so if we look at the rate of desertification in a place like Nigeria, it's at about 600 meters per year of land is lost to desert encroachment every year. And more than 60% of Nigeria's landmass is seen as desertification frontline states. If you look at the map I have here, you can see that virtually all the area above the Niger and Benue are desertification frontline states. So regenerative agriculture, so much has been said about it, so I'm not going to waste our time talking about that, except to reiterate the fact that the more greenery you have, the more the opportunity to sequester carbon in soil and above ground biomass. And at the same time, you can have increased yields because you are practicing improved agricultural systems. So if we are able to arrest desert encroachment and replace forests that have been cleared, then we are surely on our way to ensuring a sustainable environment. So what must we do? As a starting point, we need to stop being selfish. Sustainable development is about using resources today without jeopardizing the chances of future generations to use the same resources. I don't know why somebody has to build a bungalow on 5 acres of land just because he has the money. I mean, you don't need to clear all of that land beyond just building your house for yourself. And from everything that we have heard so far, regenerative agriculture and reforestation are key instruments that can be used to halt desert encroachment and the associated issues. So that if somebody develops 50 hectares of land in the Southwest, for example, such a person should be required to across the world. What you do here will affect other people in the North and vice versa. So if we are able to find a way of ensuring that whatever we lose down south here, we compensate for up north and vice versa, then we will be on our way to solving the issue of desertification and by extension, global warming. And green technologies such as regenerative agriculture and reforestation need to be further developed and disseminated to help to control desertification and ultimately climate change. This is the panacea, not only for Nigeria and Africa, but indeed for the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We are grateful for your short presentation. So I think it's time for discussion now. We want to look at what are the experiences in other countries. If Efosa is around, he can share with us what he has, what South Africa is doing. And then Mr. Adekola is supposed to share with us something in Nigeria, especially the Green World Project. The floor is open to anyone that want to contribute on how you can survive in Africa, especially how the private sector can participate in the reforestation and also in the regenerative agriculture. The floor is open now.
Please, can I share my experience? Good evening, everybody.
You are welcome. Dr.
This is Adeoye
Adeoye from OAU.
Obafemi Awolowo University,
Go ahead, sir.
Ile-Ife. I just want to share a little experience I have. We conducted a research on deforestation in a part of southwestern Nigeria. And we discovered that the rate at which our forest is being removed is on alarming rate. Of course, we have two types of forests, protected and unprotected. The protected are what is regarded as the forest, our forest reserve. These days, the government of the day is giving people opportunity to go into the protected forest, that is the forest reserve. But the beautiful thing some of them are doing is that they allow afforestation, the replanting. But recently in Osun State, what I had, that we went on a field walk 2 days ago. I took some students to the sawmill in Ile-Ife. One of our MSc students carried out a survey, a research on the sawmill industry in Ile-Ife, and was able to capture about 700 sawmill in Ile-Ife with GPS. I have the map, but I cannot showcase it now. Now, we also went to the field to find out the efforts the sawmillers are making to ensure that our forest is still protected. One of the things we got was that they have an association and that they told the government to allow them to, that the government is supposed to be replanting, because actually they are buying from the government, they pay, but the government is supposed to be replanting. But recently in Osun State, I think from what we had, that there was a problem between the government and the monarch. I wouldn't want to mention the name of the monarch. The monarch wanted people to be planting cocoa to replace the trees that were removed. And that is ongoing in a particular forest reserve, Shasha Forest in Osun State. But from the findings of our research on deforestation, we discovered that the rate at which our forest is being removed is on alarming rate, and which is really contributing a lot to the climate change. But in replacement, we have agricultural land use now taking place instead of reforestation. And that's just the little experience we got in our findings. And in the unprotected forest, we have development, just like the last speaker said, as they were removing the forest areas, we have the built up area. People are now constructing houses, industries, and commercial centers now taking place. And this is also adding to the climate change we are talking about. But in a nutshell, we have deforestation on alarming rates in our protected forest and unprotected forest. And then we have agricultural land use and the built up area taking over. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Adeoye from Obafemi Awolowo University. Dr. John, we agree with us that replacing forests with tree crops is deforestation. Am I clear? Is that correct? Because if you replace existing forest with cocoa trees and other cash crop trees, we can't regard that one as reforestation. Dr. John.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, I thought that somebody was here to, yes, exactly. Replacing any original forest with a commercial crop. Could be a tree crop, it could even be a commercial tree species. It's regarded as deforestation. And in the sense that in terms of ecological impact, it's a negative impact because the original natural forest that existed and the biodiversity is gone. So you are trying to favor a single species for one reason or the other for commercial purposes, but they buy that at the expense of the biodiversity that existed there. So it's considered as deforestation. Okay. Now the cocoa issue, cocoa, palm oil, rubber, coffee. I mean, some of these commodities. There has been this concept of zero deforestation and with the commodity thing. The whole thing has been that we can't live without having the cocoa and our chocolates or palm oil and things like that. But we need to come to a compromise somewhere. We don't have to forgo the forest for the land. So now instead of trying to work in isolated sectors, we're trying to encourage what is called a landscape approach. And that is why for some time now we've been hearing people talk about, either they are talking about forest landscape approaches or integrated landscapes and things like that, which means that you in the landscape, you don't only have the forest, you have the crops, you have many other things, you have livestock and so on. But what we want is that all the stakeholders should be on the same table to see how we can use an integrated approach in our land management planning. So it really starts again from land management planning and probably Prof, you know what it means so that we know where to cultivate what. So it is this approach. Now, we also have these concepts now that are coming up. They're coming up in West Africa, in Cote d'Ivoire and in Ghana, where these are the major cocoa producers, where most of the forest has been destroyed for cocoa. Now they are coming out with this cocoa agroforestry concept, where within the cocoa plantations now, you have some tree crops, some forest trees. It's almost similar to the tonja that was mentioned somewhere. And that is an agroforestry concept. With the oil palm is also the oil palm, they're also trying to do things like that so that we don't, even within the oil palm plantations that exist, we don't want to go further to encroach in the forest we have. We can practice agroforestry to have some fruit trees and many other things within those landscape. And in fact, we have a project that we're working on. We're developing a project now. It's a Jeff project that will address some of this integrated landscape approaches in the Cross River. We have the remaining forests in Nigeria that are there, We also have a lot of people doing the cocoa and the oil palm, and want to see how this can coexist in the landscape approach. So that those are the things that we are trying to do. We don't want that, we go clearing the forest and planting a single commercial crop, because that's really deforestation. Now, we're probably, we have time. I would have shown something from the north, because we talked a lot about the desertification, and that's where we have a lot of challenges. To show something that is happening probably to the north of Nigeria, in Niger, where we think that, it's almost in the desert. And to show what people are doing there, to prove to you that, even in Sokoto and in all these places in the north, we can still do a lot of things in Nigeria. So we've talked a lot about the regenerative agriculture, but I wanted to mention a good number of techniques that we use, especially in FAO, like the climate smart agriculture, which in fact, it's something like an adaptive system within the climate context, because we know that climate is changing. So sometimes some crops might be good, some tree species might be good today, but they are not adapted for tomorrow. So the climate smart agriculture comes as a compromise with a series of what we call the sustainable land management practices. We have things like the farmer managed natural regeneration, where farmers have to manage some trees. That happens in the savanna region, which is also a method. We also have assisted natural regeneration. As foresters, you know how difficult it is to undertake silviculture in the savanna zone, where the crops, where places are all dry and things cannot grow. But there is a system in Niger, local, we call indigenous system in Niger, that has been adopted, and people are actually fighting desertification with that. So if there was a time, I would have just shown you a video of it, but I don't think we have time for that. But know that there are techniques, there are methods that we can use, and that we as foresters now, we have to take the advantage of this born challenge of restoration. It is an advantage to undertake these restorations. Countries have had pledges to do that, and we hope that the policy, they shouldn't just have pledges, but they should also have some commitments for that.
Thank you.
So that's just a few things I wanted to share.
Yeah.
There's no time, otherwise we would have seen a video showing how people are actually fighting against the desert encroachment. Beyond, Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. You have really enlightened us. You said you didn't prepare. I know we can easily back on and you give us the lowdown. The issue is that how can we encourage the private sector to be involved in reforestation when we are saying that agroforestry is not necessarily reforestation? How can we encourage the private sector to get involved, especially in the African context? And then also, we know Africa is yearning for development, and the twin sister of industrialization and urbanization, we encourage deforestation. How can we get the nexus? How can we combine the desire for development and then the need to forest? You are welcome, Mr. Razak Adekola, the acting director of forestry, Federal Ministry of Forestry. You are welcome. So that is the discussion, so that we can have a recommendation on how we can get the private sector, either the corporate private sector or the private sector, the informal private sector, to get involved in the afforestation and the regenerative agriculture.
Thank you. If I can give a brief on this. The farming system that were being in practice, and Tonga practice system encourage those food crops to be taken along with little or limited effect that we are taught. And you will see that people that are interested in farming, after getting the loan or support from the government, there's nothing stopping them from planting indigenous tree within the component of the land area where they are. As they are harvesting their
can they plant cocoa? Can they plant cocoa and
no
together? It has to be food crops.
No, that one has been already been said by Professor John the other time. What they can be encouraged to plant is a food crop within 1 year, within a few months, that will regenerate, and plant and the crop will grow together year in, year out. And you will see that the land is not tied down. Their income is also not tied down. And as they are removing the crop yearly, they can return the loan from the bank. And at the same time, in the long run, the tree is also ready for harvest.
Mr. Siamin is from Kennedy, is from Zambia. He said that he was not hearing me, he was not hearing us. So I want, if he can hear us now, can he make a short remark about reforestation and regenerative agriculture in Zambia? If he can hear us, he has the floor. See me? Okay, we welcome Mr. Razak. Let him tell us a little about forestry and afforestation in Nigeria. Are you with us?
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Dr. John, good to see you. Professor Fabio, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what you have asked me to talk about is a very big area that it may even take the whole of today to talk about.
Don't take the whole day.
Yes, but briefly, what I can just say about it is reforestation in Nigeria, even before the need to tackle climate change challenges become more imperative. This has been going on in the country for quite some time, but fortunately, the issue of climate change came in, and the need for the whole world to rise up and address this problem arose. So it was not a new thing that afforestation and reforestation has been identified as one of the programmatic ways to tackle climate change. The only difference that it has brought is that we tend to see a kind of scale-up activities in afforestation and reforestation. For example, you will recall that Nigeria is committed to its nationally determined contributions aspect of the Paris Agreement, and that contribution aimed also to reduce emission from deforestation. So from the forestry sector, the efforts are ongoing. We have seen increase in investment to do afforestation and reforestation. You will also remember also that last year, President Buhari made a pledge at the UN General Assembly as to plant 25 million trees. So these are just few examples of Nigeria's commitment. And pursuant to that, we have been involved aggressively in tree planting. The good news I want to share here is that as we are doing this, we see private sectors, the NGOs coming to identify with us. Presently, we are partnering with Guinness Nigeria PLC in planting trees. Guinness came to us and sought our support. And we had an agreement that in the next 5 years, they want to support us in establishing 160 hectares of tree plantations. Why? Because they discovered that they need to give back to nature by virtue of their industrial needs. They use a lot of water, and they believe that planting trees helps in conserving the water, stabilize the soil, and ensure environmental amelioration. So on that basis, we are partnering, and we are just into the second year of that MOU. And apart from that also, we have NGOs coming to us wanting to identify with the Mr. President pledge. And it has been so heartwarming, so to say. It's so heartwarming. Within the ministry, you know, we have afforestation projects coming under different components. We have the component of the private sector that I just mentioned. Then we have the component of the national appropriation. Then the component of green bond, the sovereign green bond. And all these components have support for the ministry to do afforestation and reforestation. Almost every state in Nigeria has benefited from either green bond, from national appropriation, or from Guinness, even in recent times. And the efforts are ongoing. And in the next couple of years, we are going to see more of that happening. Thank you, Prof.
You are welcome. I can see the hands of Dr. Alo. So you have the floor. Can you just make your brief contribution?
Thank you very much. Very blessed evening. Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm sorry I had little network challenge, so I couldn't really follow through from the beginning. However, since we are in the making contribution as to what regeneration, afforestation has been in our places now, I need to talk about Ekiti states. About 10 years ago, what we used to have in most of our forest reserve, now everything has gone. And of course, one of the major forest reserve that we can say we can still hold on, which was that forest reserve then, now it has turned to dividend land. However, through the new map projects, the state is making efforts to reforestate about 150 hectares of land comprised of indigenous tree species and then a few exotic species. Currently, the state is also entering an agreement into an NGO, you know, to plant about 2,500 hectares of land to be able to increase the forested area within the states. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe a quick question there, Dr. Alo. Is that this plant, is it going to be hectares, all these 5,000 hectares, 150 hectares, is it going to be fully forest, or is going to be interwoven with other activities or items, other trees?
No, the area demarcated for planting are strictly for forest trees.
It's okay.
Already degraded area. Now, the forest area has been delineated in such a way that we have been able to identify the degraded land. So it is within the degraded area now that we want to.
Existing forest reserve before.
Yes, in the existing forest reserve.
It's okay. Okay. Yeah, I have Professor Falade has his hand up. So, Professor Falade, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, everybody. I've been very well enlightened by afforestation, reforestation, but I see the trend of the discussion and the plight of the ordinary man, the uneducated people in the village with what you are saying. And what effort, the first question, what effort are you trying to make to send what we are called agric extension or forest extension workers to my village? All the things you are speaking about now, it doesn't resonate with them. They don't know it. And I've heard about the conflict in development objective. If I want more from my land, I want to plant cocoa. You guys, I say, I cannot do that because I must leave my land to do some forestation. And I cannot crop those forests. You have some illegal loggers who are going to come and cut it behind you even when you are asleep. So these are issues that people are going to be considering. And the other thing is, okay, you're talking about thousands. What about an individual now who wants to develop forestry and he has his land. How does he get help? And I was impressed that somebody came from OAU. I've been in OAU, I lecture in OAU. Thank God for Sheyi, you were there as well. And you have a lot of land in OAU that is just wasting away. What is happening in those thousands of hectares of land undeveloped? Because the master plan has just been concluded recently, and I saw several thousands of hectares undeveloped. What are you going to do with that land? You know, can't we do some forestry there? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think Dr. Adeoye, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Can you respond briefly to what Prof just said about the vast land you have in OAU? Are you using them for agriculture? Are you
Thank you very much.
for forestry?
Thank you very much. One of our Vice Chancellor, I think Professor Roger, during his own term, he decided to convert some of this vast land to agricultural land use. He planted these palm fruits on acres of land. Of course, OAU is also habited by some villagers. There are some villages in OAU, and that we have people who are into agriculture. It is not that the OAU land is left fallow. There are a lot of farming work that is going on OAU land. But the only thing is that where we have forests is only devoted for the teaching and the research work, because we have the department, I think there is forestry department, I'm not very sure.
Okay.
But we have some students that are also into that. We have botany departments that are also understudying some of these trees. But
thank you.
Most of the land in OAU is now being converted into agricultural land use. Thank you.
I think Professor Falade brought out a very important issue, which is going to be part of our recommendation. Is saying that what efforts are we making to enable the local people, local farmers, to know the importance of forest and reforestation. And these loggers, these wood loggers, the moment you plant your trees, even when they will go there at night and cut down the trees and they evacuate it before morning. How do we safeguard that to encourage private investors to be interested in afforestation? I think Razak want to answer that. Abi, Siami, can Siami hear me? If you can give us the experience of Zambia. If you can hear us, you can just hear your experience. I think Razak want to say something.
Yes, just to answer that question. I think the simple way is just to ensure that we carry out the local farmers, not just the local farmers, the community members as a whole along in the planning process. What we are doing right now, even under that Guinness project, is that at the design stage, we ensure that we include community, because the whole essence of it is to make it community driven, because we don't want to see the seedlings.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Briefly, before we should be closing by now, but let's hear from Adedamola Ogunsesan, is a staff of National Conservation Foundation, and we have something to tell us. He's just joining us. So we want to hear from you on the how we can encourage afforestation, the private sector to be involved in afforestation and regenerative agriculture.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. I'll share two experiences.
Can you introduce yourself?
Ogunjason Adedamola is my name. Presently, I'm the project manager at Lekki Conservation Center, which is a flagship project of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation based in Lagos. I'm going to share two experiences with regards to working with farmers and natural regeneration. And my experience was in Katsina on an European Union project, which is called Farmer Managed Natural Regeneration. And what we tried to achieve in that project was to encourage farmers to leave indigenous species of trees on their farmlands by encouraging them to know the values of such trees, which includes fixing of nitrogen, controlling erosion. And to a large extent, it was quite successful. And so just leveraging on what Mr. Dekola said, participatory approach to solving problems is something that we need to revive in all project intervention and must be strongly embedded in our policy. I think those are the things you need to talk about when you are talking to farmers. You must let them have a say and not bring solutions just from the outside the community. It should be participatory. I think it went a long way in resolving that problem. The other approach is to look at the issue of, is it just about timber harvesting, or can we look at a situation where we can explore the issue of carbon credits on the long term? You know, these are ways, creative and innovative way of getting private participation, getting stakeholders endorsement in the process of regeneration, afforestation, and also ensuring that farmers cooperate with NGOs and government agencies while we try to increase the forest cover for Nigeria. Thank you, Professor Fabiyi, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Professor Falade is here, his hand up. Is it a mistake, or you want to share something? Prof, we are not hearing you.
I wanted to know how I can get funding to develop maybe forestry in my village. I think it might not be 10,000, maybe it's around 100 hectares. That could be a conservation area in future. We might take visitors to look at it. How do I get funding for that?
Well, Mr. Adekola, do you have, Dr. John is also there. Is it possible to get funding? There are funding opportunities.
Apologies, I had network issues as I was talking.
Yeah, I just invited you down.
Yeah. Yes, I think to answer Professor Falade, there's an opportunity now. You know there's a National Forestry Trust Fund in the Ministry of Environment. Are you aware? You're not aware. The essence of that fund is to alleviate the problem of inadequate funding in the forestry sector. And that fund is majorly established to provide financial support separate from federal government sources, either federal, state, or local government. We expect that by the time that fund is fully established, the problem of funding within forestry sector would have been a thing of the past. Now, how do you assess that fund? You apply. When you apply, then we do a kind of assessment That assessment will be done against the backdrop of, one, your experience in afforestation, your readiness in terms of land availability, and your what we call counterpart funding. For example, if it is an NGO, you should be able to show us that you have had enough experience. Your past activities have involved reforestation and afforestation. And of course, you must show us examples where you have initially planted. Then you must show readiness in terms of either counterpart funding, either in cash or in kind for the NGO and the private sectors. But for the state government, they need to have opened a designated accounts, NHF designated accounts, and then deposited certain percentage of whatever they want to obtain from the NFTF, just to show that the state government is very committed. Now, Prof, remember I was making a point before I went off here. Yeah. I think I was trying to talk about how to involve the local farmers. Professor Falade's question. No, as I was saying, it is good to start right from the planning stage, involving the communities, including the local farmers, the women. But what we did was we used the principle of community-driven development initiative in implementing this Guinness project. We started off planning with them, going to them, asking them questions, then asking them about their problems. And incidentally, there's no community that will highlight its problems that will not include environmental problems. So the moment environmental problems come in, we cash in on that and then tell them the importance of forest in addressing those environmental problems. We also go beyond that. We let them realize the benefits that are accruable from planting a tree. Then we give them graphical examples. So those are the tricks we are using. And during the planting stage, we involve them. As a matter of fact, they are the ones that do the job. And, after identifying the site, the land, we engage them in land preparation. We engage them in all the operations, in digging, planting, maintenance, what have you. And we make them to realize that the project belongs to them. It doesn't belong to the government. It doesn't belong to any governor or any minister. It is their own. So from time to time, we tend to go there. But sometimes too, we tend to introduce some kind of social safety net by giving them some stipends, giving them some money to provide water, maybe to provide water to wet the seedlings, giving them some money to take care of the seedlings, to weeding, what have you. And sometimes they don't even have to do anything before we give them money. And all these are done just to give them that sense of belonging. And we are seeing that yielding fruitful results. I think it's a good strategy if it can be inculcated nationwide. Thank you.
So you are saying that if we see you, you are going to link us with how to apply, because I know a lot of people may want to apply. But when we are asking for this and that, you even ask for the certificate of circumcision of somebody before you can get access.
But it's not easy. Even if you approach a bank for facilities, you have to meet certain criteria. So those are the criteria that have been set for different categories of beneficiaries. It's not from the group. So it has been set.
Director, you are the acting director. So I think Professor Falade can contact you after this.
Yes, let him just send his application. Based on
what I'm saying is, I would ask Thierry for your something. I already have 68 hectares of land that are my
like I said, you just have to meet those conditions that you will have to meet.
I'm sure, yes. Probably conditions.
In terms of planting trees, I think I do know how to plant. I'm a landscape architect, so yeah, I know how to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I will see you.
Another person raised up his hand. Oh, Prof, do you still have other things to share?
No, thank you.
Professor Akindele is back. Okay, let me admit him again. He went offline before, but he's back now. So, Siani does he not join?
Good to see you, Prof.
Sir? Efe, can you tell us something about South Africa? Okay. So, Okay, now, at the conclusion, let's provide solutions because we want to send our idea and suggestions to some of these bodies. How do we encourage? We have seen one initiative from Nigeria, which is to encourage people to afforest so that the private sector can get involved. But what I want to hear from Mr. Razak is that this money you are talking about, are we talking in thousands or millions of naira, or just something that cannot even take us home?
It is, yes, it is the applicant. It is the applicant that know what he wants. So I will answer that question. The applicant, like somebody who plans to establish 1,000 hectares. He will have done his what do you call it? Financial proposal. Then he will present it. So it's left to the applicants.
Yeah, Dr. John, is there any other opportunities for the private sector who want to be involved in tree reforestation, tree planting, and things like that, apart from NGOs? I mean, private sector who is interested in financial returns.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest drivers of deforestation is actually the industrial scale agriculture. We have, I think we have a very, the private sector has been, while the private sector has been coming up to say, we'll go towards zero deforestation, as they say, like those cocoa, those big companies that buy cocoa, those big companies that go for oil palm, and I mean for Nigeria now, the oil palm is we will even have a shortage of oil palm. Now you have Solidaridad in Nigeria, I think, IDH, and then they have this program they call sustainable cocoa production, sustainable oil palm production, and the production like for oil palm or for cocoa in Nigeria by the small farmers it's very low, very, very low. Oil palm is the same thing. If you compare that with Indonesia and what is there in Indonesia, and there are a lot of reasons for that. So what I'm saying is the private sector is interested in that. I mean, those big companies will always be interested in cocoa because we need chocolates and so on. But the problem is in the value chain. We end up just at the primary level, just producing probably the cocoa, and then we export that. Recently, Ghana, the president of Ghana said they are not going to be exporting raw cocoa. And I think that's one of the things we need to do, because I definitely think that in Africa we can transform that. There's no reason why in Nigeria we cannot transform these things into finished products like chocolates and the rest. This will be able to add value, and then we should be able to generate more money and incentivize. I mean, even the private sector, people in Nigeria to go in for this. So for me, I think there are a lot of potentials there. Okay. And with the climate change pressure, these big companies, they are actually ready to put in money into to work with the communities. But for one thing, the communities need to be organized. The extension workers and I don't know, formally, probably in the next door in Cameroon, I think in Nigeria, the same thing. It used to have these cooperatives. And so if farmers can work in groups, if they can work in groups, then that would be even be better. So for me, I think there's a great potential there. There is pressure in the side of the climate to say, okay, Solidaridad probably is in, I don't know whether they are in Cross River, they are there into oil palm or things like that, and they are destroying the forest. And then if this environmental messages are coming up, and then they are pushing them towards taking some commitments, and this should really be in with the policy. They should take these commitments that yes, we want to get the oil palm, we want to get this, but we want to support the farmers that are producing this, the small scale farmers that are producing this, to produce better. So we can end up having producing on a small area more intensively and then saving the forest. There is, I mean, we've talked about empty land. There's a lot of empty barren land, and we can do more on it than continue to destroy the forest. So there's a lot in the private sector to be gained than even the government. So there's a lot of funding now in environment like the JEF, the GCF. They try to encourage the private sector to do that. And to me, even at the level of Nigeria, we have a lot of NGOs, a lot of organizations that you just need to get things straight, look at what is happening, take the advantage to say, yes, we've been doing this, we don't have the means and we can do this. And so there is, in addition to the national funding that Adekola talked about, there is a lot out there for Nigeria to tap in terms of GCF and JEF funding for climate change. So we need just put everything within the climate change, and we can get a lot in the forest and the agri sector. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we close?
I did send some links to some videos on the, if you could look at that, then you see what, I mean, some initiatives that can really help us, like all this, what is happening in the Sahel region, to prove to us that we can do a lot, and to make us understand that even most of the silvicultural practices that we said they failed in the tropical forest, or it was just because these experiments were short-lived. And you know, in forestry, it has to be a long-time experiment. They were supposed to go. We can use our native species to regenerate our forests, but I mean, the times for those experiments or those research was short. So they end up concluding that no, it didn't work, and so on. So I've sent those links, and I think we can take this forward. And as I said, that we are working on a JEF project, the JEF 7 project. It's like a pilot project in the Cross River and Ondo State, and we hope that if this works well, if eventually it works well, this should be you know, upscale to other states in Nigeria. There's a lot of potential there. So it's an integrated landscape system which takes into account the agroforestry for the farmers, takes into account the regeneration of degraded land, degraded forest by community forest, and all the strategies. It takes into account the forest reserves that exist and the national parks that exist in a more integrated manner. So okay. I think there's a good way forward.
Okay, thank you. We'll soon, I think this is good. We are going to form a network so that if there's any assistance you need, that some of us need, I will connect us directly to the, there's some of them that want to get connection with Mr. Razak, and also to Dr. John. Dr. John,
and you have a lot of potentials in Nigeria, because GCF is encouraging the private sector, is encouraging national accredited bodies. It doesn't even want to work with international accredited bodies. So you can actually go through the process of coming out with a national accredited body, which shows more of, country ownership of the processes. Not at any time we have this. So you have an organization, you have all the profs there. You can have, you know, I don't think that if you put your application, look at what other countries have been doing. In Benin has a national accredited body for JEF, and they can get up to, I don't know, probably up to 20, 40 million US dollars.
Wow.
I mean, it's if you look at them, they don't have all the capabilities that you have, even the capability of one institution in Nigeria. So these are the potentials. In Senegal, we have one accredited body there that has been doing things in other countries in Africa. So you have the potential there. I think you have to go beyond. I mean, scientifically, you have to go beyond the 4 walls of Nigeria to get these funds out there. The funds are there, the links, you plug the links. The Forest Research Institute of Nigeria has the potential to link with the research institute in the north, in Europe, America, who are looking to, to break through in the tropical zones. And, that can bring a lot of funds to Nigeria. It can, and in different forms, and what the government will come with chip in will not be anything much. I had Professor Fabi asking how much that will, probably the money will not be able to fuel your car, but you should be able to use your scientific knowledge, your technical knowledge to get, to knock at the walls of this institution. The funds, money, climate money, pledges are coming from all the countries in the developed countries into the GCF, into JEF and things like that. And we have to tap into the funds. In fact, yeah. I think we have a potential there to do a lot. And not think about what, I don't think you should think about what will come from the federal government. You should think about bringing a lot of funds to Nigeria and doing big things there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I see the hand of Professor Akindele. Please, can you give us some remarks before we...
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to make 2 quick remarks. Thank you, Dr. John, for those insights you have provided. And I'm confident that the convener of this meeting will take it up going forward. I also had the presentation of Mr. Dekola, and that's very great too. One of the issues we are looking at, because somebody asked the question that, well, if I have my land and I plant my trees as a private forester, as a private person, illegal fellas will go in there and cut everything down, and I won't get anything from it. That is a very, very true situation. And the problem which needs to be addressed frontally is that most of the illegal felling activities are with the connivance of forestry staff within government establishments. That is the truth in Nigeria. And so if we will address that, we need to tackle the problem right from the root. If the forestry staff are not compromised, the space of illegal felling in Nigeria will reduce drastically. That is the truth. Second point is this. At the level of, and I'm glad that Mr. Adekola is here, at the level of government policy, there is the need to revisit existing policy. Now, existing policy is this. If I have a large expanse of land and I go into commercial agriculture and I plant maybe rice or maize or whatever, at harvest time, I will harvest. I don't pay any money to anybody. All the income comes to me. But if I use that same portion of land to plant trees, when the trees mature at harvest time, I cannot fell a single tree there without government coming to charge me and collect tariff over my own trees that I planted. So that is a policy issue which has to be revisited. So a person would rather prefer to go and invest in agriculture where all the yields will come into, all the income will be eased, than invest in planting trees where when you want to cut it, you need government approval. And then government will now charge you. So that is a major, major problem that is discouraging many people from going into large-scale private forestry establishment in Nigeria. And I believe it's a policy issue that needs to be addressed if we really want to promote private forestry initiatives in the country. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We are indeed grateful for the enlightenment we have all received in this short but very inspiring and enlightening session. We are going to take it up from there. The Tuesday, we're going to take it up from there. We are going to make contact with, we are going to link the people or the network of everybody that have attended today. Today, we have about 25 attendees of this short conference, and it is well attended because all the experts were there, and then we have enlightened us. We are going to have a communique and a report of this, which will be shared with us in the next 1 week or two. And then we are going to take it up from there by providing the NGOs, all the NGOs that we are connected with who are interested in tree planting, ecosystem regeneration, and ecosystem services. We are going to enlighten them about this opportunity which you have shared with us today. Thank you very much, Professor Akindele. We are very grateful for attending. Professor Lamin, you are very welcome. Dr. John, despite the short notice, we are very glad that you attended. And Dr. Alon, Mr. Razak, Professor Falade, we are grateful for attending. Mr. Demola, Mr. Musa, Dr. Adeolu Ojo, sorry, you should. You are very welcome. We are very grateful for this, your presentation, and we believe that we are going to have more of this in the future, discuss in the future to enlighten us more and to provide opportunities to connect the NGOs and the private sectors with the government and the international organizations. And one thing I promised that we are going to have a summary of this, our conclusion, especially in the area. One of them is what Professor Akindele has told us, that one of the things that are discouraging the private sector from being involved in tree planting and forestry is that when they want to harvest their trees, government will now discover that they have tariff to collect from them. So people prefer agroforestry because when you harvest your cocoa, government will not take a kobo from it. It will not take a penny. But when you want to harvest your tree, maybe the teak or any other tree crop, and then you must pay before you can cut it down. You must pay to the government. So maybe those issues may have to direct our some of our policy advice to the state government. But I think the things in the concurrent list. It's not in the exclusive list. Every state have their policy. So we may also engage some of these, especially the southern states that have a lot of forest in that area. We're going to make representation to them on some of these issues. Welcome our colleague from Zambia and Uganda and South Africa. They could not connect today because I think they are having internet issues. But we believe that maybe the audio is being recorded and will be forwarded to them will be shared with everybody, and will be shared on the Facebook and also on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to see all of you, beautiful faces and wonderful look. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Mr.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dr.
John, it's been a while.
Really have to meet.
All right.
Ogalo and the wife. I see
you. Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Akindele, please maintain this outlook. We want to like this outlook.
All right.
Thank you.
You are monster COVID. I don't know has blocked me to get invisible monster.
Thank you.
Yes.
My real food.
Yes. Dr. John, we are working on that project.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, we are working on that FOJ
Yes.
project right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Adekola,
Yes.
you have to remember us in
I'm
your kingdom. Oh.
No problem.
Prof says that your money will not be able to fuel his
No
car.
problem. No problem.
That's the acting director of forestry now in Nigeria.
Yes, so
Yeah. But I think there is something. Look at this. You really have to look at this
Professor
thing
Law,
of
are you in the kitchen now?
accreditation.
Ogalo
Yes, sir.
Are you in the kitchen now? Because I heard you talking about the kitchen.
Yeah.
is
Are
a
you no more
consultant in
UI?
Ekiti.
All right, sir. Dr. John, okay.
Dr. John, want to say something?
So John will connect. So
Yes, I think we need you really need to think about this accreditation.
yeah,
I think we will need accredited bodies in Nigeria for GCF
exactly.
and start getting these funds and doing a lot of things there. You have a lot of groups, you have NGOs, you have university institutions with, I mean, you have research. You can come out with a real strong body there, and I mean, I just saw a call for proposals for looking for an institution that will be able to write proposals for GCF, for JEV, for GCF, and so on. You see, for academicians, proposals is something that is in your blood.
We do that every time.
If you had a group, you get this, and then I mean there is a lot that we can tap from this systems now, especially under the banner of climate change.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's time. I'm happy that Mr. Adekola is in charge now, so
he's in charge. He
he'll be able to attract more funds to forestry.
Yes.
Money we are looking
you have to dynamize the forestry sector.
So bring back the days of Omeku.
Yes, that's a phonetical product.
Those days are gone for good.
Yeah. But then a lot was done in the past. I don't know what happened. You know, a lot was done in the past, and today we're not able to do what those land use analysis and things like
Let's
that.
say Mr. Adekola was part of it. That's why I'm confident that with him in charge now, you will be able to do something.
Yeah.
All right.
No, you need to have a nice network.
Tired. I say
No. He's still young. He's still young to be tired.
When he's retired, directors are not tired. I think it's in Nigeria where I've always had this introduction that retired but not tired, which psychologically is very important.
Yes, so
because some people take retirement as
as something else.
Yes, if you're retired and you are not tired, you are instead going to discriminate. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So bye everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yes,
bye.
Yeah.